Hey y'all, it's Tuesday, May 11th. Welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. And our guest today is going to be Mr. Stone Key. But before we get to him, Mike, how was your weekend?
Well, it's my wife had oral surgery last week, so we've been going through that for the last week or so. I did speak to the Longview Book Club last. Let's see, was it Tuesday? Tuesday, okay, or Monday? Sorry. Anyway, it was had held at the Books and Barrels, which is
Hmm.
a neat bookstore in Longview in downtown. I think it's off Fredonia. Anyway, it's a unique bookstore. They have books and they have wine. So what else? You sip wine and you read books. And anyway, the book club, it was actually about the Janus Witch. That was the book that I
Hmm.
was talking about, and they asked a lot of good questions. It was fun, and I sold some books and got to meet some new people, and it was a great experience. And so. I highly recommend if you're in the Longview area and you want to be part of a organization like a book club. They are online. Just look Google or go to Facebook page for the Longview Book Club.
Awesome. Stone Key, how was your weekend?
Sorry to cut out to there just a little bit, but my weekend was great. Just getting stuff done for upcoming trip for my daughter's graduation and all the usual household types of things.
Nice. Well, mine was a little bit of a test. Um, I started off going to Coco Geekin, which I absolutely love to do, and we got all set up, and literally 30 minutes prior to when it was supposed to start, I ran upstairs to go to the restroom in the bookstore I was in, and when I came downstairs and hit the bottom, I turned my left ankle, which put all the weight on my right ankle, and I heard a crack, crack, snap, and like lightning shot through my entire body. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't concentrate. I was just like, what just happened? And it turns out I tore ligaments and tendons in the right ankle, which is my dominant foot. And so my poor left ankle, which I did turn, hasn't had a chance to heal because I have to keep leaning on it. And I'm now on crutches for 3 to 6 weeks at a minimum.
Wow.
So it was fun. Yep, we tore down about 12:30 and went to the ER, had it x-rayed, nothing's broken. But it's kind of one of those scenarios where it's almost like it would have been better if it was
Better if you broke
broken.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we are live from my bedroom because I cannot get upstairs. So,
Okay.
Wow.
it happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, you- Stone, we're talking about Amazon ads and marketing today. Do you want to kind of give us like the overview? We could jump in with questions and go from there.
Yeah. Sure. So the background is, yeah, I read a lot of articles and I see a lot of things and all of this. And but one of the things I do is I tend to learn by just doing things. And so a few years ago, when I published my first book, um, it was pretty obvious from the beginning I was going to need to advertise, and if I was going to sell this book, I'm not, a famous person who, publishers were demanding my book for type thing that everybody wanted to buy instantly. So I knew I had to market and sell my book to an audience, and so basically in the last few years, that's what I've been doing. I've been learning the different things, trial and error, trying things with Amazon and Facebook, all kinds of different things. And finally, in this last year or so, I've gotten into rhythm where sales are actually picking up. I'm doing well. I mean, relatively well. And so hopefully in this session, we'll get a chance to kind of talk about some of the things I've done and what I've learned and pass them on. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've definitely, I've been through the trenches and I know what's going on. So
So, what do you feel is your biggest success?
this is actually the my best success so far really has been my Modern Warlock series. I've been trying different types of ways to market it, and Amazon ads, Facebook's ads, and all the kinds of different readers like this. And actually, what I ended up doing is I reached out to a company that helped me get my Facebook ad set up correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it went from, okay, I was spending $5 or $10 a day in ads. I was getting sales of $1 or $2. Suddenly, next thing you know, I'm getting anywhere in 15, 20, 25, $30 a day sales. And then it kind of going up from there. And so that's been my best success right now. Is right now, even though I run a ton of ads on Amazon, Facebook for me right now is generating a ton of money. But what I
Now,
found was, I'm sorry,
I've heard pluses and minuses regarding Facebook ads, because a
oh
lot of
yeah,
times people say they put them up, but they're just sent out to general, and they're not. How do you get them to target the right person?
and the thing is a good example is my Modern Warlock series
Mhm.
did great with it. My other book, Storm's Rage, the first ad it failed. And the reason why is that the targeting. Now, they have Facebook, and now they're called quote Meta, has built their tools to help you kind of manage that. And but they're not the easiest of all tools to use. And so what I ended up having to do is go through and working with this company and start targeting things like I targeted ads for writers that were in my genre. That helped a lot because suddenly now, it wasn't just everybody in the world. It was people that were reading urban fantasy and books that were relatively related to my books. And then I actually ended up finding some additional authors that also wrote in my category that were doing really well. I just had never heard of them before. So it was taking a little research. And like I said, this company that I work with helped me kind of got me going. And then from there, it was just a matter of research of who, who's the writers in my area, the categories, and then kind of really target down. So instead of having a target market of say 30 million people, it's maybe down to 12 million people or even less than that. But those people are the ones that they started responding. I put the ads up and 3 days later, things were coming in.
So, how is targeting different authors helping you as opposed to a different type of group?
Well, because what you're doing is you're looking for readers that are interested in your type of books.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I said, James Butcher, Kevin Hearn, some of the others like that. Those are the types of readers that I know will enjoy my book. Now, somebody that does a good example is like one of my books, Amazon. They somehow switched it to being Christian romance. It's not Christian romance by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I'm looking at your background, and I'm like, how did they get Christian romance out of that?
I don't know how that happened. So that is a tip to everybody: is that every once in a while check your categories on Amazon, because when they start making changes to the categories, sometimes things happen. And like I said, I had mine. I know someone else had something similar. The book was completely in the wrong genre, and they were wondering why their ads weren't hitting. Well, I mean, I have another my sci-fi romance book's been on the spicy side, and it definitely wouldn't appeal to a Christian romance reader. So, but by understanding who you're targeting, and not so much that they like urban fantasy or whatever it is. If you say, okay, I like this author or this author, and you target them, and those guys have some really big audiences. You can basically ride on their tails and
Yeah.
get some
Yeah.
business.
Oh,
Right.
got it.
So Gary, on Amazon, there are some tools. Publisher Rocket is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's Publisher Rocket. There's kind of some freeware that's not as quite as easy to use, but it's freeware. Publisher Rocket does cost. But if you are serious about marketing your book and being being an author and in selling your books, Publisher Rocket is definitely something you should look at, or a similar tool. And what they do is it gives you a way to kind of investigate things like, okay, tell me authors in my categories, or tell me the categories, the categories in these types of books. So basically, they allow you to. What it does is basically probes Amazon and gets back data about the various books. So you can see things like if you write, say you write to market, you're going to want to see who's selling big time, right? And you can actually do that with a tool. You can say, I pick a genre, and you can see how much they're selling per month, per year, how much revenue they're generating, and you know, that starts giving you. It's actually one of the reasons why I wrote the sci-fi romance, is because when I started looking at that category, my goodness, the revenue, the number of books that were selling was just outrageous. And I thought, well, maybe I should dip my toe in that. But I also used it somewhat I also use it for my Modern Warlock and Death's Arbiter series, where I look at the books in my genre, and I use that and said, oh, well, here's this book in my genre. And I looked at the categories that they had listed for that book. I said, well, if that book is selling, 5,000 copies a month or 10,000 copies a month, maybe, and it's same as my book, maybe I should grab their categories and put it for my book. And so it gives you a lot of marketing information about, who's selling what categories, how they're approaching things, and then you use that information then to adjust your marketing plan.
Have you noticed that with your Amazon ads that you have ebbs and flows in terms of sales and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, you definitely. It's interesting. I saw it was late last year. For a while there, my Amazon ads were just going nuts. And next thing you know, it was going great. I'm thinking, hey, that life is wonderful. I've made it, and then it went. And it was just, and so I went in and tried to make some changes, but it ebbs and flows. And then one of the things I do want to point out on Amazon ads is I see people, there's a gentleman online on Facebook that does a free Amazon ad training, right? And it does it quarterly, I think. And people create their ads, put it out there, and and we all have this magical want that we put our book out there, we advertise a little, next thing you know, everybody's buying it. Not with Amazon ads, they take a while to kind of get going. One of my best Amazon ads took 3 months before it really kicked off. And so, because it has a lot to do with Amazon algorithms for search and their ads and stuff like that. So if you do an Amazon ad, don't expect it, you may get lucky, but don't expect it to fire off. You put it up there and the next day you got tons of sales. You're going to need to give it a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months before it to really kind of get into the groove.
Right.
Patty wants to know, how much do you normally spend a week or month on Amazon ads? How does that relate in sales?
Let's see. Amazon, I usually spend about $100 to $200 a month in Amazon. I'm spending closer to $300 to $400 a month on Facebook, and I definitely clear those sales each month.
So you more than make up the amount that you're actually putting
yes,
out.
yes, I do. But I will tell you though, it has taken me. Some of these ads have been running for over a year, type of thing in Amazon, so it's taken a long while for that to hit. And I watch a lot of the numbers that I kind of keep watching the number of clicks, the number of hits, and things like that. If you do see, sometimes you see downturns, and it's just going to happen. Super Bowl's coming up, or there's some sort of event coming up, or whatever, that people kind of lose. They're looking in a different direction than reading books, and so. But for the most part, it's a long game. So you're going to expect at the first you're going to be losing money, and then eventually you're going to start pulling that money back in. But you have to kind of consider it as an investment in your career. You can go to training, you can do whatever it is, but this is one investment you're going to have to make.
So is there a particular training online that people can go to for figuring out how to do these correctly?
Well, for Amazon, Brian Cohen does that quarterly class where basically he walks you through the tool.
How do you spell his name?
Brian, I think it's BryanCohen.
Ian.
Ian, yeah.
Cohen, and
yes.
that's on Facebook.
That's on Facebook, and I highly recommend it. I was kind of I was trying to figure out Amazon ads, and then I saw his course, and it really kind of filled in a lot of the blanks for me, and got that going. Facebook, I haven't found anything similar on Facebook. Like I said, I ended up paying, it was a novel publicity to help me. And I'm actually thinking about eventually maybe doing a little webinar on how to use the Facebook Meta tool to market your book. But I will say though that some people do really well on Facebook and not on Amazon. Some do really well on Amazon and on Facebook. But so it's just a matter of, you got to find what works for you, what your genre, your book, all that. And it's a little bit of trial and error. But it's one of those, you're working out your business plan, how you're going to market your product. Once you start, you kind of everything starts coming together, then it's all going to flow.
Now on the Amazon ads, one of the things, Gary, that I found that's extremely important, and not everybody is equal. Your blurbs, as we talked about the critique section, are awesome, but
Yeah.
you only have 150 characters to describe your book, which is basically the hook, regardless of which how you do your Amazon ads. And you just have that 150 characters, and you have to say everything um, that will catch the reader's attention. That's one of the things that the Brian Cohen training points out. But how important do you think that is compared to the rest of the Amazon ads in terms of how much you spend and your categories, etc.?
Well, to be honest with you, about half of my Amazon ads, I just use the standard. I don't even put in a blurb. I let the blurb from the book sell the deal, and those ads are actually as profitable as the ads where I actually put in a little hook. I think a lot of it has to do with when that Amazon page comes up, you see those items. First thing they're spotting is that book, your book cover, and the name. Does it look interesting? Now that little blurb may pull them in or may not. I haven't evidently maybe my 150 word blurb isn't quite where it should be, but it does bring up a good point. Is that your ads are trying to drive them to your book, and then you want them to that magical moment when they click that buy button. Their add to cart, buy now, whatever it is.
Right.
When they get to that page, they have two things. They have your book cover and your blurb. One of the things I've seen that I think has probably killed many sales is that their blurb. You can actually use the Amazon editor to put your hook with a bold and format the paragraph and make it look all nice and readable. But I've gone to books where it's just a stuffed paragraph, and while I'll read it, it's like this, it's just one little thing that I think hurts them in their sales. And so when you talk about the blurb, putting a blurb, having a catchy blurb is important because like I said, it works for some readers or some potential readers, some not. But when they get to that book, make sure that blurb is perfect. It's got a catchphrase, looks good. One of the things I even do is I put some of my 5-star ratings in the blurb itself, so you can see it. So they, instead of having to scroll down and possibly see some of the, those 2 or 3-star ratings, they see a bunch of 5 stars. But the Amazon ads themselves, they're going to do that blurb. I think too many people concentrate on getting it accurate. Well, he does this and he does this, and then our hero does this or our heroine does that.
Yeah.
No, what you're trying to sell the book. So what you're looking for is put something in that's going to catch them. Like my death arbiter says, you only die once unless you work for death. So those types of things. That's what you're not trying to tell them what's in the book in that little blurb from the Amazon ad. You're trying to hook them to go read your full book.
So kind of like the log line as opposed to the
Yeah.
summary is what you're trying to put in the Amazon ad.
Exactly.
Patty wants to know, do you use the same ad each month or do you change it up depending upon which book you're advertising?
For the most part, most of my books have ads that I just continue to run month over month. What I do is I watch the numbers. If an ad really starts kind of dropping off, I'll kill it and I'll create a new one. It basically, you just kind of watching to see how it goes. So, but most of my ads like I said, since they take a while to get going, if I start an Amazon ad, I know I'm going to be running for like at least 6 months. And then
Okay.
after 6 months, if I've got no numbers on it all, then I'll kill it. Then I'll try something different. But Amazon ads are definitely a long term, the long game.
So I've got a question, actually, Gary. So one of the mistakes that I made, and I'd like you to comment on this, is when you create an Amazon ad uh, and you're putting in keywords,
Mm-hmm.
if the keywords are not germane to your genre, if they're not germane to the story that you've written, uh, because at first, I was doing the Amazon ads and I didn't know what I was doing. And to be honest with you, I'm still muddling through. but
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm going to cram as many keywords in this ad as possible. 200, 300, 400. Okay. And got lots of impressions and got clicks. And what ended up happening is spent a lot of money on the clicks because you get charged by the click,
Yes.
and no sales, because if you are, for example, putting in keywords that are part of a romance story, but your book is more about a Star Wars science fiction setting, uh, you're spinning your wheels, but you're also costing yourself a lot of money. Could you kind of
Yes.
comment on that?
Yeah. To tell you the truth, one of the things about the Amazon ads is that A, it's a long game. B, you have to watch them. You have to be looking at where your money's going, where the clicks are, and your sales. One of the things I have found is that I'll see, I'll see my ads running, and it'll show some clicks, but won't show any sales yet. My book is actually selling. But so you got to take all the numbers together and look at them. But if you got a keyword that's generating a lot of clicks and you're not getting a lot of sales, you need to kill that real quick. But what it does mean though is that it's not. I run it for 6 months, but it doesn't mean I set it and forget it. It means I set it, and then I go into the Amazon tool, Amazon ads, and their campaign manager and all that, and I'm looking at the numbers. What's going on with it? Am I getting any impressions at all? And then, am I getting any clicks? And one of the things is that if I'm not seeing any impressions at all, eventually I'll delete them. But if I'm seeing impressions but no clicks, I leave it, because it's not costing me anything to get an impression. And there's a possibility that somebody may see it and say, "Oh, I'll come back to it later," and then buy the book later because, hey, I saw this, whatever it is. So what you get into, Mike, is to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. You really need to spend the time. It doesn't have to be daily, but once a week, once every few weeks, you're looking at your Amazon ad, the campaign manager. You're looking at the numbers, and you're making decisions about which ads you want to continue with, what keywords, and all that. It's definitely work, but what it does is it avoids you paying for those clicks that aren't generating sales, but it also will help you maybe generate more clicks that will generate sales.
So
So you can add too much, basically, is what you're saying.
You can, but the thing is, initially that's not a bad thing, because a good example is the one ad I had. I actually had I had put in some keywords that I had no idea why, and they started generating impressions. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good. So to start off with, add too many, because it doesn't cost you anything. And if it generates impressions, it doesn't cost you anything. Now, if it's when it generates clicks, but then again, now you just had somebody go and look at your book.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they might not buy now, but they might buy later. Or they may look at, if they can see the links of other books by you. So start off wide until you learn what works. And sometimes you'd be surprised. Some keywords just come out of the blue.
So Brian Cohen recommends that, particularly if you're starting out, that you budget only $5 a day. Is that what you recommend? Is that something that you would also recommend?
Yeah,
Budget?
Yeah, I mean, I started off at $5 a day. Now the thing is though is that you can set your ads, different things at $5 a day, and most of the time, at least for me, now you all might do better than me, is that starting off most of the time you won't hit that $5 a day. No. I mean, you'll be, if you get $1 a day or whatever it is. So initially, actually, I've run multiple ads, put each at $5 a day, and just watch them. Most likely, I mean, you're not going to spend that much, especially at the beginning. But then as it starts ramping up, and you start getting more and more clicks, and the costs start going up, that's when you can start doing things like, well, this ad is doing really well, and I'm getting, I've seen sales from it. This ad, I'm getting clicks, I'm not getting any sales. Maybe I'll kill this ad and put that money towards one of the other ads. So it's back to, I set it up, I run it, and I'm watching it, and I'm seeing the numbers, and I'm deciding, based on what I'm seeing, this is what I'm going to do. And
so a lot of it's kind of trial and error type stuff.
A lot of trial and error. I mean, there's obviously there's experts out there in the industry that know all this stuff. Simple folks like us, it's a learning process.
So do you run ads in markets other than the United States?
Yes, I have UK and Canada, and I'm not sure if I have I can't remember if my Australian ads are still running or not. So I don't see as much out of them. They don't cost me much, but I do see sales. In fact, actually, one of my first sales of my Modern Warlock book, maybe not first, but I mean like first few months, actually came out of the UK, and somebody wrote me a really nice review.
Oh, nice.
So so definitely look at the Canadian market, UK market, get those ads out there. They're a little more limited. They're only sponsored products. So when you do there, you don't put a blurb. You just you set it up for your book and then your keywords and stuff, but you don't have to put a blurb. But it can't hurt.
We have about 3 minutes left. Right. So 2 things. Number 1, any tip or trick, kind of a gold nugget that you want people to take away from. And also, we don't want to let you go without having a few minutes to talk about, your own books and what they are and how to find you. So you have 3 minutes. Go.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, tips and tricks. There's no magical bullet here. It's get in, learn, try it out. Budget some money and just say, okay, I'm going to lose this money, but it's basically I'm paying myself to train myself in how to do the ads, things like that.
Okay.
Also, spend some time looking at your competitors, their categories, their blurbs, how they write things, how they approach it. Ride the tails of the big guns out there because it'll definitely help you. So for books, okay, I start off my first book series is called The Modern Warlock. So I'm going to put it up here. There's 3 books in the series. 4th book is going to come out later this year. It's magic. It's warlocks, wizards. Instead of magical training schools, think more along the line of a magical boot camp for adults where survival is the goal for each day. This is my newest my series called Death's Arbiter. This is book 1, and this is Keye. It's my first book where I've written in first person, and Keye is Death's #1 arbiter. Basically, he spends his role is to sort souls, kill wayward celestials, and basically help maintain the peace between heaven and earth. Book 2, Death's Angel, where Keye actually gets to ascend to heaven, hopefully will come out early July. And then my last book I want to go over. This is a new genre for me. It's called Storm's Rage. It's a spicy sci-fi alien romance book that just literally came out about 2 weeks ago. Book 2 of this book will come out sometime later this year, and you can see my website on the bottom there. I also have a blog. We foster dogs for a local rescue group, and I've started writing a blog about our encounters with the dogs and basically telling their quote tale. And it's a little comedy and all that. It's really well received. go out to that site, take a look at it, and then read it. And I think you'll enjoy it. And
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Stone Key. For anybody who wants to learn more about his books, it's StoneKeyebookS.net, N-E-T, not .com, but .net. And thank you so much for sharing today and sharing your joy. Stay tuned for next week at 1 o'clock. We're going to have C.W. Hawes, and he's going to be talking about the genre of mystery. Woo.
awesome. Thank you.
So I'm excited. In the meantime, check out, see what kind of play around with the Amazon ads and the Facebook ads on your own and see what you can find out. But make sure to look up Brian Cohen. I put his name in the chat down below. It's BryanCohen on Facebook, and I'll talk about training for Amazon ads. So don't miss those. Meantime, have a good week, and we will see you all next